Hey everybody, welcome to Keys of the Game, Southern Miss and South Florida. Devin, the hurricane threw us off here. We're having to do this on Zoom. We should have done this at practice. It was pouring down rain on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yesterday, it was still pouring down rain. I didn't want to take a boat to campus. I don't live on campus. I live off campus, 30-minute, 35-minute drive from campus. I'm not taking a boat to campus, Devin, so we got to do this on Zoom. We got to go back to
Look,
COVID.
look, even on camp, it was horrible. I tell you, I'm in Hillcrest. I mean, if you know what Hillcrest is Hoodcrest. So we're not going to talk about it too much, but we're still doing it. We're talking about our keys to the game against USF, and I feel like I've been talking about this ever since we pretty much started the season. How do you slow down Byron Brown? How do you slow him down? That is the question I want to present to you first, Dima. How does Southern Miss stop Byron Brown, and this high octane USF offense? Let's be honest. First off,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
really
oh, go
my
ahead.
bad.
Yeah, see, we're on Zoom. We're on the I didn't mean to interrupt, There we're back, baby. No, yeah, no, I mean that's gonna be the key, right? I mean, obviously last week was Southeastern Louisiana. You had that game and you had that offense, and I remember saying this on our Instagram reaction video, that every single day, or rather that Will Hall said after the game several times, we didn't allow the big plays, we didn't allow the big plays, we didn't allow the big plays, and I'm like, yeah, because they didn't have any big plays, they didn't even try to, right? They didn't try to throw the ball down the field, and that's not going to be the case when South Florida comes into town on Saturday night. They will try to throw the ball down the field. The secondary will be tested very much. And so it's going to be very hard. There's going to have to be some kind of serious game plan to make them more one-dimensional than maybe in weeks past. But when you look at South Florida and the problems that they will propose to Southern Miss, and I think the number one thing is this run game for Southern Miss has really been a struggle over the past couple of weeks. Devin, do you want to take a guess? And maybe you already looked. How much run yardage that South Florida allowed Alabama to have at halftime last weekend? Would you like to take a
I'm
guess?
gonna say I'm gonna say 50.
Yeah,
50 is my high.
57 yards rushing for Alabama. Alabama at halftime. So I'm almost hit it right on the nail of the head. They rushed for 195 yards against Alabama. So that's pretty good numbers against an SEC school, obviously. So they are good in the trenches. We know Southern Miss's defensive line is good in the trenches. We're not sold on the offensive line yet. That to me is a huge concern for the Golden Eagles going into Saturday's game.
And I feel like that's where this game is really gonna be won. As you just mentioned, just to put over 100+ yards rushing against SEC school, especially when it's Alabama, that isn't something to be over at all. I mean, if Southern Miss want to slow down USF by any means necessary, you have to just win the battle of the trenches. Which honestly, I see the D line. The D line will be able to hold it wrong, but I feel like the main problem concern that when it comes to talking about can they win the battle in the trenches goes down to the O line. I mean, against Southeastern, there seems like there was a lot of QB hurries, a lot of pressure thrown not only to the quarterback against, say, Roadmaker or Ian Crawford, but just in general. The pressure is always there for anyone in the backfield when it comes to Southern Miss. So, unless, honestly, something has changed, unless the Hurricane has completely just switched everything around, made it all oopsie
Just put
daisy.
us on Zoom. So
Yep. So it's really just all about can the O line win the battle in the trenches? Because I think you can agree a lot of times in that Southeastern game, Tate Rodemaker had a hand in his face pretty much maybe 80, 70% of the time when it came to passing. And we can talk about the run game and about, hey, the run game needs to improve, the run game needs to this. But when we look at this, the run game may just not be there at all, honestly. You mentioned, we just talked about USF slowed Alabama down to pretty much 57 yards of rushing, which is incredible to do as an American Conference school against an SC school, especially against Alabama. So it's just like, to me, how do you how do you win this battle in the trenches? Where do you focus on? Do you really focus more on the pass game, or where is this, I guess, breakthrough that you see Southern Miss can be able to win this game?
Yeah, and it's gonna be all about that because Southern Miss has to be able to win the battle up front because if they don't, it's gonna be a long night. You've seen what it happens, especially against Southeastern Louisiana, what happened when that offensive line wasn't able to give them a 3 or 4 yard carry. If they go backwards on first down, then they're having to throw it, then you drop 6 or 7 or 8 in coverage, and then there you go. It's harder to throw. And it seemed like last week, Devin, that everything for them on offense was hard. There wasn't anything that was just easy to do, you know. And you can say what you want about the game, but the reality is that outside of a muffed punt and a pick six, it's 21-10, right? Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean it's a close game. It was a close game outside of two wacko plays that Southeastern Louisiana dropped, which you expect an FCS opponent to do in a game like that. But
Hmm.
you expect Southern Miss to capitalize more on their first team offense just by running their own offense. And I think that's to me what concerns me the most about South Florida. For Southern Miss to win, Devin, they have to do.
Just pretty much win the battle in the trenches, and when it comes to secondary, stay on alert. South Florida they love to take shots deep. So this is the first time they're gonna really get that first test of, hey, someone's gonna test us deep. It's all on them if they can make that play. If they can shut down and slow down a really hot USF offense.
Yeah, I think it's going to be in the trenches too. The offensive line has to be played better than they have in the past couple of weeks. They have to be better. It's also a mental game, in my opinion. I think it's a mental game because Southern Miss, you're 1-1. We all expected them to be at this point of the season, 1-1 coming into this game. But Devin, it's the way they won their game and lost their game that I think the perception of this team is so on the downside trajectory that it seems to me that the mentality of the team might be a little bit off coming into this game, and that just cannot be the case. If you would have gone to Kentucky and lost, I don't know, 34-17 or something that is competitive, and then you just blow out Southeastern Louisiana. I think this game, a lot of people would have different views on this game, going into the game. And I'm saving that for my game pick, obviously. But I think a lot of people would have a lot of different views on this game. And so the mentality game is big. The trenches are big, and Tate Rodemaker has got to have a great day. He cannot have under 200 yards passing, in my opinion. I don't think he's thrown under 200 yards, over 200 yards passing yet. I know you mentioned in your bold prediction on the first week that he was going for like 350 or something. I don't even know if he got to
Uh, uh,
150.
uh,
So, not calling you out, but it's just you see that the
yeah.
perception of the team has changed so much over just 2 weeks, and they're 1-1. We all expected them to be at this point in the season 1-1 going into this game, knowing it's a huge game. We will be there on Saturday night covering South Florida Bulls and the Golden Eagles of Southern Miss. Friday night at the Rock, 6 p.m. The game will be televised on ESPN Plus, but you should be in the stadium to watch this one because it'll be fun. Look for our coverage on X. He's at Witson. I'm at Dima Mixon. And go follow all of our coverage at smtmedia.com. You can follow on this channel as well for our game picks after this video, our bold predictions for Saturday night. We'll see you at the Rock on Saturday night.